Hi everyone, my name is Julie Mock and I'm the Conservation Director for the Colorado Mountain Club. Pleased to present you with this recreation mapping webinar. We're going to talk about a project we're working on in coordination with Outdoor Alliance and also with support from the Aspen Environment Foundation. We want to thank them for helping us bring this webinar to you this evening. And before we kind of talk about the mapping project specifically, I want to tell you a little bit about Outdoor Alliance Colorado. This is a nonprofit organization founded in the fall of 2012. We're part of a larger Outdoor Alliance nationwide organization that's working to promote and protect backcountry human-powered recreation across the country. Our local coalition here in Colorado is made up of the Colorado Mountain Club, American Whitewater, the Colorado Mountain Bike Association, and the Access Fund. And we work together on a number of different projects and campaigns, again, to promote human-powered recreation across the state. Collectively across the country, we represent a membership of over 100,000 individuals and many more users beyond that. So we're a big force to be reckoned with and an exciting group to be a part of. Talk a little bit about the advocacy work that OAC has done recently. We have been involved in the Browns Canyon National Monument Project, the Hermosa Creek Watershed Protection Act, numerous public land travel planning processes, and then we'll occasionally make visits to Washington, D.C., as well as the Capitol building in Denver for various different policy issues. We've also taken on this recreation mapping project, which we'll be talking about specifically tonight. I also want to touch briefly on the Colorado Mountain Club's Backcountry Snowsports initiative, which is a big driver for this mapping project. CMC adopted this program in 2009, and we are really Colorado's only united voice for human-powered winter recreationists. So that's backcountry skiers, snowshoers, cross-country skiers, etc. We've been involved in a bunch of different winter travel planning processes over the years, including the Vail Pass Task Force, Rabbit Ears Pass, Red Mountain Pass designation. So in areas where you're seeing differentiation between user groups, motorized and non-motorized, most likely BSI has been involved in that in some capacity in Colorado. More recently, we've also been involved in the 2015 Forest Service over snow vehicle rule, which is going to change how the Forest Service manages snowmobiles and other motorized use in the winter. You can learn more about the Backcountry Snow Sports Initiative at the website on your screen. So to talk a little bit about this recreation mapping project, why do we need to do it? Why are we interested in knowing where folks are going in the backcountry? Our interest, again, from the OAC perspective is advocacy based. In order to promote and protect areas for outdoor recreation, we need to know where folks are going and what they're doing out there. Our goal is then to share that information with land managers so that we can come up with policies that really fit the needs of our user groups. The other thing this allows us to do is start to identify either real or potential conflicts with different types of development, oil and gas development, maybe impacts on different wildlife species or critical habitat areas, and then identify conflicts between different user groups so that we can address those proactively. We want to inform future planning and management, including travel planning when we're looking at new trail development. We want to make sure it's going to be sustainable and, again, balanced with other land uses. We'll look at parking and access, and then land use designations like wilderness and recreation management areas that really do put in long-term protection for some of these recreational uses that we love. We use the data in public comments and citizens' proposals and all of our conversations with the different land management agencies. To talk a little bit more specifically about winter recreation mapping and why it's so important, in February of 2015, the Forest Service did pass this new over snow vehicle rule, and that is going to change how they look at winter travel planning across the nation. Forest in Colorado with a comprehensive winter recreation and travel plan. Everywhere else in the state, forests have some, small designations in place perhaps, or some recommendations for winter use, but effectively most areas are just open to across the forest unless they are specifically closed. Part of the reason this mapping project is so important for winter travel is that right now there's very little consolidated data from skiing, snowshoeing, cross-country skiing, winter mountaineering, all of those things. And it's really tough for us to advocate for backcountry human-powered recreation when we don't even know where folks like to ski or to travel. Our goal is to then present the Forest Service with maps on where users are going, identify those areas that are really high priority winter landscapes for backcountry users, and hopefully put some protections in place. We'll talk a little bit about the data collection and processing that we are doing currently. All of the Outdoor Alliance groups are collecting data in different ways and using it for advocacy purposes. Right now, on the collection side, we are getting open source data available on the web and from other online resources. We do collect GIS data from the agencies, the BLM and the Forest Service. And then a big part of our data collection is user input, and that's where we're looking to you all to help us build our data sets with information that we don't yet have. We are hosting a number of workshops across Colorado this year. We've had 3 so far, and we'll be in Gunnison actually next week on October 15th. For an in-person mapping workshop, which includes this presentation and then an opportunity to sit down with paper maps and talk a little bit more in depth about specific areas. The other great resource we have are web platforms, and we'll look specifically at one of those tonight. It allows users to log on from really anywhere in the world and input their data, give us information on trails they like to hike or bike and routes they like to ski, etc. So that's a great resource we'll talk about more tonight. As far as processing goes, the data from various resources is delivered to the Outdoor Alliance groups. We spend a lot of time cleaning, formatting, and verifying the information to make sure it's accurate. And then we'll add it to other existing databases and information we've collected. As far as usage goes, we are selecting specific data for advocacy projects as it's appropriate. We can layer that information with other relevant data, whether it's habitat information, oil and gas development, travel plans that are already in place, that sort of thing. And then we can just distribute it, kind of package it and get it out to agencies, to our members, to politicians, that sort of thing, again, for that advocacy work. So what Outdoor Alliance putting together a number of different data resources, including mountain bike information in black, backcountry ski routes in blue, and rock climbing crags are these blue dots here. So we can kind of compile it together and look at these higher density recreation areas for either potential conflicts or opportunities to expand or manage that use better. In this example, you can see on the White River National Forest just a simple outline of some backcountry ski trails in blue, as well as huts. And this is kind of our baseline data that we can then layer with other information to give us more, just more info on what's happening on the forest in this area. So here we've added lynx habitat information. The lighter pink areas are general lynx habitat. The darker pink and purple are denning and critical winter habitat. So you can start to see where recreational use might be overlapping with wildlife uses in this area. In this picture, we can see the current winter recreation plan that's in place. The orange indicates open motorized areas where snowmobiles can travel across the landscape. The dark green are areas that are closed or prohibited to motorized vehicles. A lot of those coincide with wilderness areas. And then the lighter green are restricted areas. So motorized vehicles are restricted to designated routes only. And then we can put all of that information together, the winter recreation routes, the winter travel plans, and the lynx habitat, and start to see that there are a lot of, potentially competing or potentially compatible uses happening on this landscape. We can also take a little bit broader look at recreation from a distance. So this is kind of central Colorado, and this in particular is ski data. These are different ski ascents in yellow, and then downhill backcountry ski areas in green, blue, and black, indicating their difficulty. But you can see where there are some hot spots and high usage areas from this perspective. We can also zoom out to look at statewide trends and patterns. This map indicates current winter travel designations that are in place, indicating areas that are restricted, closed, or open to motorized vehicles. We can also see wilderness areas in darker green, and then the lighter green areas of the forest that are effectively open to motorized use because there is no current travel plan in place. So what we're looking for from our members and folks that we're engaging with is help with this mapping project to really build out the data that we do have to help verify the information we've got so far. And we've got a great asset through Adventure Project to utilize these three different mapping platforms on the web. Mountain Project, MTB Project, and Powder Project are all user-driven databases. And then Adventure Projects allows us to pull that information from the back end. So any trails that you enter on these sites will then be fed back into our databases for advocacy purposes. For whitewater paddling, AmericanWhitewater.org is the best resource. They've got a pretty comprehensive database full of river information, but they're always, again, looking for new information and verification of what they've got. So I'm going to briefly walk you through what it looks like to go on to one of the Adventure Project sites, set up an account, and actually start to input information. So this is a snapshot of the powderproject.com, specifically for backcountry ski data, but it's a fairly similar interface to what you'll see on MTB Project or Mountain Project. The first thing you do have to do is set up an account. Up in this top right hand corner here, you can do that. It's just an email and password, no payment or fee or anything like that. So you set up your account, and then you can share your tracks, and that's where you'll actually be able to create tracks or upload information. When you go to share your tracks, you can decide to create an approach or you can create a downhill ski line on Powder Project. In some of the others, you'll one option is to upload tracks. So if you have either a GPX file from a GPS unit or a KML file, typically from Google Earth, you can actually upload that directly into their database. So you choose the file from your computer and click upload. It's as simple as that. Their system will recognize whether there's one track in the file you've uploaded or if there are multiple tracks. You can choose to join them together or select one track to edit at a time. Once you've selected that track, it'll automatically populate this map with information, but you do have a chance to kind of edit as you go if it's not appearing quite right on their maps. You can move the lines around, reverse the direction, and make sure it looks good before you move on. The alternative, if you don't want to upload tracks, is you can actually just draw a trail directly on the map by hand. It's a pretty simple tool. You create your start point, and then by adding the red and green dots and moving them around, you can get to a point where you've got your full trail or route indicated. And it's very user-friendly and really kind of easy and fun to do. Once your route is set up in the database, then there's an opportunity to add a bunch more information. I'll zoom in a little bit here so we can take a look. So they ask that you name your trail, you indicate its location, the land manager, you provide a summary and description, you can add photos, etc. And then their staff will actually verify that all of this information is filled in and verify its accuracy to the best of their ability before they publish it on the site. So it's a pretty comprehensive process. They are trying to maintain credibility and get good information onto their sites. The other thing I'll ask that you do is if you are on the Powder Project site and want to select BSI as your local club, that would be great. It really helps us track how many folks are participating in the webinars and then continuing to add information to the Powder Project site. Okay. So that's a basic overview of the adventure project sites. I'll put those websites back up in just a sec. But we really, as you go through this process, we'd love for you to think about the following and help us identify these high priority areas for protection. First question is, where do you enjoy recreating? Where are those really great landscapes, great trails, great crags that you love to go? And which access points are most important to you? How do you get to those places? Are there parking issues? Are there land access, private property issues perhaps? You can indicate some of those areas would you recommend to others? And where do you run into conflicts? Are there areas you're particularly worried about? Again, areas that you might be seeing increased use or unsustainable use. And then what areas experience the greatest user conflict? Where do we need the agencies really to come in and help manage the use between different recreation groups? So the next steps really is to get online and start mapping. Like I said, these 3 adventure project sites, MTB Project, Mountain Project, and Powder Project, are all affiliated with Outdoor Alliance, and we're able to pull information from the back end. So any data that you enter there automatically trickles down to our various advocacy groups. That's probably the easiest way to submit information. However, if you specifically have backcountry winter recreation info that you'd like to provide, I'm happy to take that personally. You can email it to bsi@cmc.org. And again, that can be a GIS shapefile. It can be a GPX file, KML, whatever you've got. We can get it converted and entered into our database. That might also allow you to give a little bit more contextual information about maybe issues that you're seeing or recommendations for winter travel planning. The other opportunity, of course, are in-person mapping workshops. Our next one is in Gunnison on October 15th, but we will be having more throughout the winter, so please do check out cmc.org/BSI, and you'll see a full list of our upcoming workshops, and you can get onto our BSI email list for more information. So that's, again, a really basic overview of the mapping project that we're doing. We're really excited to get folks engaged in this. And it is you all out there as the users that have the most important and relevant information for us and for the land management. I really appreciate your help. Thanks so much.